Ant-Man and the Wasp is the latest Marvel blockbuster to hit cinema screens. And while it may not be the financial and critical behemoth that its predecessor Avengers Infinity War was, it's been a big hit with fans the world over. Likewise, Ant-Man and the Wasp isn't as enormous of a movie as Infinity War, and though it is filled with gorgeous CGI sequences, exciting action scenes, fun character design, and hilarious gags, the movie's tiny scale couldn't possibly fit all the gigantic ideas inside, with many left on the artist's room floor. With the release of the Art of Marvel Studios' Ant-Man and the Wasp, we can finally get a behind-the-scenes look at some of the movie's early concepts and inspirations, as well as alternate and discarded ideas for scenes, gags, and various characters. As the movie's director Peyton says in his introduction, the book shows the visual evolution of the film, the ideas we honed and expanded upon, as well as some we left behind. In this video, I'll take a look at many pieces of concept art from the movie's production as seen in the book, and will also detail a number of sequences which ultimately weren't realised for the final movie. Ones which I really would have loved to have seen as a huge Ant-Man comic fan. Before we get into it, let me issue the obligatory obvious spoiler warning for this video. As Ant-Man and the Wasp has received a fairly staggered cinematic release schedule, at the time of publication, the movie hasn't quite opened worldwide just yet. There won't be major spoilers in here, but I do highly suggest seeing the movie before you delve into this video. Let's get into it. Gags and the Wasp. Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp are two of the most obscure movies in the MCU franchise, and the fact that the artists and filmmakers behind them can express their quirkiness and outlandishness through the use of comedy and sight gags is the most charming quality about them. The movie makes use of the shrinking and growing sizes of our heroes to deliver some pretty spectacular sequences. While the movie does have its fair share of sight gags, many that were conceptualized never found their way onto the big screen. Sight gags are not only a trademark of the Ant-Man movies but of the comics too, which again I am a huge fan of. That said, these moments are some of my favourite pieces of art in the book, and the scenes I wish could have been fully realised above all. The book shows an entire fantasy sequence between Scott and Cassie as they imagine their own ant-sized adventures together. Some of my favourite images from this sequence are Scott and Cassie coming up against an enormous, yet regular-sized squirrel, and Cassie carrying Scott around on her shoulders. I also love this gag with Cassie and Giant Man fooling around with Luis while he's lounging around in a pool, and this would have been hilarious to see on the screen. There is such a charming quality to these ideas, and I could imagine them alternately working in some kind of children's book about the adventures of Ant-Man and Cassie, much like the Night Night Groot book Marvel released to coincide with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Some of my favourite visual gags from the movie come from watching Scott and Hope teaming up together as Ant-Man and the Wasp. And of course, the book spotlights many great humorous action moments between the pair that didn't make it to the screen. I particularly like these sequences which would have seen Ant-Man and the Wasp going up against a bunch of criminals in incredibly inventive ways. I love this idea of them shrinking down and firing off a nail gun at their foes, and especially love these concepts of Ant-Man using a giant-sized shaken up bottle of Coke as a weapon, dousing a couple of guys in a torrent of sticky cola. I also love this visually striking sequence which would have seen a car chase between Luis and a criminal in shrunken cars with Ant-Man and the Wasp in tow. This car chase would have taken place in a downpour of rain, across dangerous wet roads, into the mouth of a dog, and then onto a football field during a game. The entire dangerous atmosphere, enormous rain droplets, and frighteningly large football evoke such an incredible cinematic feeling. I can almost see these images in motion, and I can just imagine how amazing and exciting this sequence would have been on the big screen. The book also shows some of the advantages of Scott's suit. We get to see him use his body to link together a broken bridge as cars drive along his back. We also get to see some disadvantages of his suit, as Scott finds himself literally squished like a bug on the headlight of a car. This is one of my favourite pieces from the book, and it would be absolutely hilarious in a movie. Giant Man and Hank Pym's Lab. There's a lot of great concept art in here for Hank Pym's lab, but an entire series of images took me as quite striking. The film's production designer Stephen Frankel notes, "In Hank Pym's lab, we wanted the audience to feel disoriented in scale. Everywhere you look in the lab, there's an oversized prop." In many of these concepts, we can see the enormous Giant Man suit looming over Pym's lab, and even see Pym doing some work on it in various pieces. These are such beautiful concepts that feel incredibly reminiscent of classic comic panels where you would see Hank Hank working on his suits in the lab. There are no real write-ups on these concepts in the book, but it's strange to see the Giant Man suit such a prevalent inclusion in lots and lots of these artworks, but not actually in the movie itself. Again, something I would have just loved to see. Inside the Quantum Realm. The book features a lot of really spectacular concepts for the quantum realm. There's some incredibly colourful and surrealist stuff, but also a few humorous sight gags as well. There's a great concept of Ant-Man fighting off nanobots, which have been sent into the realm to finish him off by one of his foes. But what really struck me as interesting was a series of concepts which showed not only Hank and Janet in the quantum realm, but Scott and Hope too. Again, there's no real write-up of any of this, but it appears that at some point during production, there was a plan to have Hank enter the quantum realm with Scott and Hope. In the end, I'm happy with how the movie turned out, and given everything that Scott and Hope get up to while Hank is in the realm retrieving Janet, I understand the decision to veto this idea, but still there's just something so very exciting and interesting about all four kicking butt down in the quantum realm. Maybe an Avengers 4. Alternate character designs. As with every movie, the super suits in Ant-Man and the Wasp went through various iterations in the concept design process. For Ant-Man, there's a number of really sleek designs for the costume and helmet, including some with a blackout incognito mode. The film's visual development supervisor Andy Park says of his Ant-Man designs, "There's a charm to the first Ant-Man look due to it being retro, and there's a nice sleek modernity to his Civil War outfit. I decided to create a look that was essentially blending the two costumes, taking the best from both worlds, all the while knowing that this is still a modern suit." There's also a ton of really great Wasp suit designs too, most of which are actually fairly similar and take their basis from the suit scene during the post-credits of the original Ant-Man, and some others appear somewhat more comic-inspired, taking on the same colour scheme as Ant-Man himself. Hank Pym also gets to suit up in this one as he travels into the quantum realm, and the book offers up various concepts on his quantum suit, many of which the book notes as being based on not only the Ant-Man and the Wasp suits themselves, but on real-life airtight astronaut suits, including functionality that would make survival in the quantum realm possible. Most surprisingly, a number of concepts for Janet appear as well, showing various iterations of what she could have possibly looked like after surviving decades in the quantum realm. My favourite piece from this lot incorporates elements of the Yellow Jacket suit from the first film. Of course, Yellow Jacket met his demise when he was destroyed in the quantum realm, and an original idea saw Janet fashioning her own suit out of salvaged Yellow Jacket parts after she comes across his body on her travels in the realm. The most beautiful designs for Janet, and quite possibly in the entire book for any character, are these wonderfully retro, heavily comic-inspired costume designs for Janet's classic Wasp suit. I just love the colours, the sleekness, and the vintage feel to these. I hope we get to see more of classic Wasp in the future. And of course we get a couple of alternate ghost designs in here too. Some appear to be heavily inspired by the character's comic book appearance, and some others appear to have a more grotesque, animalistic, almost alien-inspired look. And at that we come to the end of the video. While these are just some of the highlights, at over 280 pages, the art of Marvel Studios' Ant-Man and the Wasp offers hundreds more pieces of art and a plethora of insights into the design process of the movie. It's not the greatest MCU art book so far, but it certainly offers up some eye-popping and spectacular artwork. It's a must-have for all MCU art book collectors and Ant-Man fans. You can get your hands on a copy of the book right now, and I've left my Book Depository affiliate link down below. If this is the first of my videos you've seen, you've enjoyed it, you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, then please hit that big old subscribe button up on your screen right now. If you are feeling extra generous, then please don't forget to hit that like button down below. It does a great deal in getting my videos out there. Until next time though guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a marvellous day. Excelsior!